Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend the Welcome to Fanfiction World, back with the amazing fanfiction. This is series a What If Deku Had Fire Power. Are you ready? Inko asked her son that was going to his first day of school. Yes mom, Izuku said, strapping his backpack to him. Pencil? She asked and Izuku nodded. Yep. Snack? Yes. Tissues? Inko asked and Izuku smiled at her. Mom, I have everything. Anyway, I need to go. Kachan is waiting for me and you know how he can get. Izuku joked and Inko nodded with a smile. Izuku, I love you. Izuku looked at her with a smile. Me too. Bye mom, he said as he rushed outside and started to walk towards his blonde and explosive friend house. You finally arrived, Katsuki said and Izuku shrugged. I'm not that late, let's go. I want to make a good impression on my first day, Izuku said, passing by Katsuki, making him frown. Oi, wait for me, he screamed as he rushed to his friend's side. And so, Izuku and Katsuki started to walk towards their new school. So, what do you think this is going to be? Izuku asked him and Katsuki shrugged. Don't know. Don't care. I just know that we will be roomed with a bunch of fucking losers. He grumbled and Izuku smirked. So you don't think that I'm a loser? That's so sweet, Kachan, he teased and Katsuki glared at him. Fucking watch it. Izuku raised his hands. Okay. By the way, what does fucking means? You say it a lot lately. Katsuki shrugged. Don't know. Mom says it a lot when she is angry, happy, sad. Katsuki explained and Izuku nodded. Okay. So, it's something good? Izuku asked, still not getting the meaning of the word. I don't care. I like it, Katsuki said, grinning, and Izuku shrugged. If Kachan likes it, it is his problem. Classroom. Welcome to your first year of school, the teacher said with a surprising lack of motivation. But it was understandable. The whole class was a mess. No one was paying attention at the teacher. They were talking between themselves or just admiring Katsuki and his quirk. Many of the students of this class went to preschool together, so they already knew each other. There wasn't any awkwardness between each other. Izuku was just sitting there waiting that his egocentrical friend to finish boasting. His ego was sometimes big enough that he couldn't handle. Even though he has what might be considered a flashy quirk, he doesn't brag a lot about it. Maybe because his mom told him to not do it. For some reason, his mom is really worried about him showing his quirk in public. Anyway, he looked at the teacher one more time that was trying to make an attempt to bring control back to him in his class. He did it by stretching his arm and giving Katsuki a chop on the head. Katsuki frowned and cursed a little, and after some laughs, the class finally started. After school, I don't like that guy, Katsuki grumbled and Izuku smirked. Why? Because he put you on your place, he teased and Katsuki glared at him. Shut up. You were supposed to back me up. That's the sidekick job, Katsuki screamed at him and Izuku rolled his eyes. For the last time, I will never be your sidekick, Izuku said, and Katsuki scoffed at him. They kept on walking towards their neighborhood. They took a route that crosses something close to a forest. They used to play in here when they were smaller. It was either in Katsuki's house, their secret base, or this forest. They kept walking towards their destination, when Izuku stopped to see a tree. It was an average tree, only difference it was taller, and had more branches, making it easy to climb. Grinning, he got an idea. "Hey Kachan, want to climb this tree?" he asked, and Katsuki stopped and stared at the tree. "It's pretty tall," he simply stated, and Izuku smirked. "What, afraid?" he teased. Katsuki grumbled a little, before throwing his backpack to the ground, and started to climb the tree. Izuku chuckled and followed his friend. While Katsuki stopped first, thinking that he got high enough, Izuku continued. Every chance that he has to win over his friend, he takes it. That way, he can tease him after. "Come on Kachan, I didn't know you were afraid from highs," Izuku teased, and Katsuki frowned. "I'm not fucking scared." "Then why are you there like a scared kitty?" "While I'm going even higher towards the sky, and wow," Izuku screamed as the branch he was on started to crack. Katsuki's eyes were filled with concern. "Oi, I think you need to climb down now." Izuku nodded. "Yeah, just give me a moment." "Crack, or not," Izuku said as he clung to the branch that was starting to break. Izuku's weight was making the branch go down until, crack, the branch broke in two, making Izuku fall. He passed Katsuki and hit the ground with a thump. Katsuki was eyeing at Izuku's body that was not moving and had his eyes half closed. A red liquid could be seen coming from Izuku's head. "Deku, hospital." Katsuki's scream was heard by some people that when they saw the situation, they called for an ambulance that arrived rather quickly. They took Izuku and called Inko and informed her what happened to her son. She had been crying since she arrived in there. Mitsuki Bakugo, Katsuki's mother, and Katsuki are there too, waiting for the doctors to give them any news. "Come on honey, don't cry. Everything is going to be fine." Mitsuki tried to comfort the crying woman with no effect. But what sob if he dies?" Inko asked between sobs and continued to cry as Mitsuki hugged her. Katsuki was in front of the door, waiting for any news. He didn't know how much time passed until the door was finally open and a tired doctor came from it. Both women looked at him and he gave them a small reassuring smile. "He will live." He fell and hit his head against something, a rock probably. He was in danger, but now he is safe. The doctor explained, and Inko let out a relieved sigh, while Katsuki and Mitsuki grinned. "But, there is something important that I want to talk with you, Miss Midoriya." "May we talk in my office?" the doctor asked, receiving confused looks from the two grown-ups. Inko nodded meekly, as she stood up and followed the doctor. Mitsuki went too, to make sure the doctor doesn't try any weird shit, as she stated. Once in the office, the doctor sat behind his desk and Mitsuki and Inko in front of it. The doctor sigged as he leaned back. "Mrs. Midoriya, as I already said, your son is in no danger right now. But, all this will be expensive, and I want to know if you can afford it." The doctor sighed bluntly as he put a slip of paper on the table. Inko took the piece of paper and gasped at the amount. This is too much. I can't afford it," Inko said, and the doctor sighed. "I'm sorry, Miss Midoriya." Inko sobbed while Mitsuki was rubbing her back. "Don't worry honey, we can help." "How much is the amount to pay?" Inko handed her the piece of paper to her longtime friend. Mitsuki's eyes widened and then she glared at the doctor. What the fuck is his price? What is your benefit on putting such price at saving one life, asshole? The doctor gulped. It was placed by my superiors, he said, and Mitsuki sighed, annoyed. But if he is fine now, why the amount to pay is so high? She demanded, and the doctor sighed. He is stable. For now. We were going to perform the surgery, but first we need to make sure that the payment is all right. The doctor explained, and Inko looked at the doctor with fierce eyes before Mitsuki could speak. I can pay. Inko. Honey, that amount is too much. Maybe if we go to another hospital, we might. No, Izuku needs help now. She bit her lip before speaking. I have to call him. Mitsuki's eyes widen. You don't mean? Yes, Izuku's father. Now if you excuse me, I have a call to make, she said as she went outside the office. She took her phone out. It was the same phone she had from years. She hasn't changed it, just the battery. She still has a lot of the contacts of people she doesn't remember anymore. Or the ones she doesn't want to remember. She looked for the number and pressed on it once she found it. She put the phone close to her ear and waited for someone to pick up. She doesn't want to do this, but it's her best choice. There was a chance that he doesn't pick up. There had passed years since they last talked. She just hoped that he picked up. Finally, the call was answered. I knew you would call me again someday, a man's voice said from the other end, making Inko frown. We need to talk. It is about your son. There was silence in the other end for some brief seconds, making Inko doubt about this. Go to my house. We will talk better there. Then, just like that, he hung up. Inko sighed as she put her phone away. She could just hope that this was a good idea. She went inside the office to ask Mitsuki stay here with Izuku, and the woman agreed. Then she prepared for a long and hard talk. Walking out of the hospital, she ordered a cab and went towards her destination. When she arrived, she saw the huge mansion that the father of her child lived in. There was a butler waiting at the entrance that guided her inside. He guided her towards the main room where she sat and waited patiently for the man to show up. After some few minutes, dressed as formal as they came a muscular man, with red spiky hair and a beard made out of fire. Inko stand up to look at the man's turquoise eyes. Inko, the man started, it's been a while. Enji, we need your help. Lot of money. But not for him. The operation took some few hours. 1 or 2 top. The hospital had really good doctors with great quirks that could be used greatly for medicine. Shoto was anxious. They told them that Izuku is all right, and even though he is tired right now, he is allowed to see people. His mother and the blonde kid, that kept asking him questions while waiting, went inside rushing. The blonde woman, after warning, cursing his father one more time, also entered the room. He looked at his father that was steeling himself to enter and meet his last son. He was born 2 months later than him, making him his older brother. Deciding that it was time, he pushed the door to enter Izuku's hospital room. Deku. Katsuki screamed as he rushed next to the bed of his friend that held his head. Not so loud, Kachan. My head is killing me, he said with a slight smile. Izuku. His mom screamed now as she hugged him, making him flinch first, but then he gave back the hug. "Sorry, Mom. It wasn't my intention to worry you." Izuku apologized and tears started to fall from Inko's eyes. "It's okay, honey. Just promise me you'll never do something like that again," she asked, and Izuku nodded with a smile. "I'll try my best." Inko broke the hug to let him breathe again, and he started to chat with Katsuki. Then the door was open and a kid with a bi-colored hair entered the room. The first one to react was Katsuki. "Oi! What the fuck are you doing here?" Mitsuki slapped him over the head. "Don't curse, brat. Don't hit me, you hag." The kid ignored those two and walked to Izuku that was looking warily at him. "Who are you?" The kid looked at Izuku characteristics, checking him. "Izuku Midoriya," he asked, and Izuku nodded. "I guess." The kid nodded with a blank face. "My name is Shoto Todoroki. And I guess we are brothers." Both Katsuki that stopped arguing with his mom, and Izuku looked at the kid like if he was crazy. The fuck? Both Izuku and Katsuki asked at the same time, and both turned to Inko and Mitsuki looking for answers. Inko sighed. "Izuku, honey. There is someone I want you to meet." And the door was open one more time to let a red-headed man in. "Wow," was all that Izuku could say as he stared with awe to the mansion that was his dad's home. Enji smirked as he gave Izuku a slow push to encourage him go into the house. "Welcome to your new home, Izuku." Izuku snapped out of his thoughts and looked at his father. "New home? What about Mom?" Enji's smirk didn't flatter. "This home is mine. So, it is also home for you and your siblings. Now go inside. I want to show you your room." Izuku nodded dumbly, still surprised by how his new home looked on the outside. "It is probably bigger inside." Izuku's room. It seemed that his prediction was accurate. If it looked like a mansion outside, inside it was a palace. There were golden chandeliers on the roof. Paintings that looked expensive. Marble pillars were decorating the entrance. Solid roble furniture and stairs were also in place. Also, the many maids and butlers that received him and his father. And his room could be the size of half of the apartment that he lived with his mom. It was huge. It had a TV, a king-size bed, a PC, a desk, and a shelf full of books. Mom told him to be careful of his dad, because he can get to be a really bad man. But Izuku didn't get it. His dad was a hero. The number 2 hero of the country, to be precise. How can a hero be bad? That doesn't make sense. When he asked Kachan about that, he was also confused. He put his bag on his bed and opened the closet of his room. Inside there was a vault that inside had a lot of toys. A smile formed on Izuku's face. He decided. His dad isn't a bad guy. He is a cool guy. A knock at his door caught his attention, so Izuku headed there to receive whoever was knocking. He opened the door and saw that it was his half-brother, Shoto. "Hey Shoto, what do you?" Izuku asked, but Shoto passed right through him and into his room. "Need." Shoto looked around the room before turning to Izuku. "What do you think?" About him." Shoto almost spat the word, confusing Izuku. "Him? You mean Dad?" Shoto narrowed his eyes but nodded. "Well, he seems nice and all." Shoto clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. Nice. Nice. He is everything but nice. What? You think that because he got you this stuff he is nice? Shoto screamed and Izuku was caught off guard. Dude, calm down a little. I think that you are overreacting. I mean, if you want something from here you can have it. And I think that Dad can. Don't call him Dad. Tell me, why do you like that man? Shoto demanded, getting face to face with Izuku. Dude, for real. Chill down. You really are overreacting over something little. Izuku said slowly, and Shoto glared at Izuku before turning away. You don't get it. You just don't. He said, and then he left the room, leaving a confused Izuku behind. Some hours later, Izuku was bored. It was simple. He had a huge room, toys and a PC to play. But he got no one to play with. Shoto was out of the options. The way he reacted before let him think that he might not like him at all. He didn't want to bother his dad. Besides the fact that he was out working. He then remembered that he has others brothers. Maybe one of them is going to be friendlier than Shoto. Grinning with his mind set, he jumped off his bed and rushed outside as he started to look for someone else in the house. He was running through the gigantic mansion, hoping he found someone willing to play or at least hang out. As he turned at a corner, he bumped into a girl. She had turquoise eyes and a shoulder-length white hair with red traces. Also, she used some glasses. She dropped some books as she fell on her butt. Izuku also fell and he noticed what happened. Hey, sorry about that. Let me help. And no, I'm sorry about that. Hey, why you are? The girl shakily said, and Izuku nodded. Name's Izuku Midoriya. Or Todoroki. I'm not sure about that yet. Izuku said, and the girl nodded. Oh, okay. My name is Fuyumi Todoroki. I am your sister. Fuyumi introduced herself and Izuku grinned. Nice to meet ya, Fuyumi. Hey, why the books? Izuku asked, trying to make some talk. Oh, this. Well, I need to study for AT test. Fuyumi explained, and Izuku grinned flattered. So, you're busy? Fuyumi nodded. Why, yes. Sorry, maybe we can know each other later. She asked, and Izuku nodded with a forced smile. Sure, I'll be looking towards that. Fuyumi nodded and gave Izuku one last smile before leaving to her room. Once she was out of sight, Izuku's smile was gone as he stuffed his hands into his pockets and went downstairs slowly. He was heading towards the door. Maybe I can go to Kachan's house. I mean, how far can it be? You okay, kid? A voice snapped him out of his thoughts, and he turned to see a red-haired kid with spiky hair and turquoise eyes. He seemed to be older than Fuyumi. Yeah, I guess, Izuku said as he then continued towards the door. Then why the frown? The kid asked again, and Izuku looked at him with a smile. I'm not frowning. See? He pointed to his smile, and the kid nodded. Aha. So, already escaping this hellhole? That was quick. I gave you a week. Natsuo a month. The kid stated in a bored manner, and Izuku blinked at him. Escape? Why? Izuku asked. He didn't get why everyone was so set on saying that his dad in this place was bad. Even his mom and Auntie Mitsuki said to be careful of him. The kid smirked as he shook his head. Never mind, you'll find out soon. So, if you weren't escaping, then where are you going? Izuku grinned. To visit Kachan. This place is kinda of boring. The kid chuckled at that. You're right on that one, kid. And who are you visiting? Kachan, it's his name. Izuku nodded and he scoffed. That's a stupid name. Oh really? Then what's your name? Izuku challenged and the teen gave him a bored look. Toya Todoroki Lil. Bro. Let me guess. You gave him that nickname? Toya asked and Izuku nodded. So. Toya smirked. Nothing. Only that it is a stupid name. Hey. I make great nicknames. Is more. I am going to give you one right now. Izuku proclaimed and Toya yawned. Whatever. Izuku put his hand on his chin in a thinking manner. I'll call you. An imaginary lightbulb popped over his head as he grinned. Dabi. Dabi. Toya asked and Izuku nodded with a big grin. Yeah, it is way better than Toya. Do you like it? Toya chuckled. Sure, sure. Call me however you want, he said as he stood up from the couch he was sitting. I think that I'll go with you to Kachan's place. As you said, this place is boring. Dabi said and Izuku grinned. Great. Let's go. Bakugo residence. So, you are Izuku's other half-brother? Mitsuki asked Dabi as they sat on the living room while the kids went outside to play. Dabi nodded. Pretty much. Name's Toya Todoroki. Mitsuki nodded. I see. Hey, can I ask you a question? Dabi nodded as he let out a, what is life there? Dabi looked at her before leaning back and closing his eyes. Sometimes is bad, sometimes is good, most of the time it is boring. Don't know what to tell ya, ma'am. If you are expecting something like, Dad is the devil, I rather not say anything. Those are our problems, and with all due respect, those are none of yours. Mitsuki nodded before sighing. Hey, can you make me a favor at least? I guess. Mitsuki looked with serious look in her eye at Dabi. Can you keep an eye on Izuku? Dabi opened an eye and looked at her. What now? Mitsuki sighed. Look, Izuku is energetic and have his personality. But he is a great kid. I don't want your old man doing anything to corrupt him. So, what I am asking you is to take care of Izuku. I know that you might dislike him for being the son of the woman your dad cheated with, but can you still? Yeah, I get it, ma'am. I already told you. That place is boring most of the time. Hopefully, the kid can bring some fun into it. Dabi interrupted her and she blinked at him before grinning. You know, kid, for being son of Enji, you are all right. She praised as she gave him a somewhat hard slap at the back. Dabi grumbled a little before yawning. Whatever. I just hope that things become more interesting. Outside, Katsuki and Izuku were talking about what happened during the day. So, the half-and-half bastard is a jerk. Katsuki stated and Izuku scratched the back of his head. I wouldn't call Shoto a jerk yet. We just need to know each other better, you know. Izuku defended his half-brother and Katsuki scoffed. Sure. I just don't like that guy. Katsuki said and Izuku shrugged. Let's give him some time, okay. Todoroki residence. Shoto puked as he fell to the ground after his father punched him at the stomach. Enji watched him before turning around and leaving the room. His training still is as hard as ever even after Izuku arrived into their lives. He gritted his teeth. It seems that he is the only kid that his father actually cares about. He spoils him, smiles at him, treat him like a human. I hate him, Shoto muttered. And he wasn't talking about his father this time. Come on, Dabi. We're late. No, we are not. Calm down, Dabi said as he and Izuku were walking towards the door of the Todoroki residence. Well, he was walking. Izuku was rushing to the door, telling him to hurry up. But we will be if you don't hurry, Izuku said, and his older half-brother yawned. Right. We don't want to worry your mom if we are late. Dabi had met Inko in other occasions and had saw how caring the woman is and how much she can worry over little things. Izuku nodded. Good. Now let's. Hey Shoto. Izuku interrupted himself when he saw his other brother sat in the couch reading something. Izuku got next to Shoto. Hey, we are going to see my mom, want to? Izuku started, but Shoto interrupted him when he stood up and left. Come with us. Izuku looked how Shoto left with a sad look. Dabi patted his shoulder to call his attention. Let's go, kid. We are late. Izuku nodded and followed the teen out of the house. They walked a couple of streets before Dabi had enough of Izuku down attitude. Kid, drop it. What do you mean? Look, Shoto has more issues than you and me combined. So, he sometimes can be a jerk. We just need to give him some space, that's all. Dabi explained, and Izuku nodded. But wouldn't be better if he talks to someone about it? Dabi shrugged. Maybe. But with who? Me. Dabi looked at him from the corner of his eye. Yeah, that won't work. They went the rest of the way with a smirking Dabi and an angry Izuku, asking him what does that supposed to mean. Midoriya residence. Izuku. You arrived. And you too, Toya. Come in. Inko said as she opened the door and saw her son and his half-brother at the doorstep. Izuku nodded as he rushed inside and Toya entered at a slower pace. Thank you, Mrs. Midoriya, Mom, said Dabi and Izuku respectively. Inko nodded with a smile as she closed the door. Dabi and Izuku sat on the couch while Inko went for some drinks for them. Here you go. What are you two going to do today? Inko asked and Dabi shrugged. Don't know. Maybe to the park or something like that. Inko smiled and Izuku got an idea. Hey Mom, why don't you join us? It's been a while since we hanged out. Inko put her finger on her chin. I don't know. Come on, Mrs. Midoriya. I can't be the only one to keep an eye on the brat. Hey, I am not a brat. Whatever. So, you're coming? Dabi asked again and Inko smiled. Well, if you insist, I'll go. Izuku grinned and Dabi smirked. Great. Mom is coming. Dabi smirked and Inko giggled at the little kid's excitement. It didn't take them too long to leave the house and head to the park. Hours later. That was fun, wasn't it? Izuku asked and Dabi rolled his eyes. Sure. Why not? Inko smiled as she watched how Izuku and Dabi were talking. She was glad that Izuku was adapting well to Enji home. He didn't seem to be sad or depressed. Besides, Toya took care of him. As she was focusing on those two, she didn't notice the out-of-control truck that was going at full speed at them. Dabi did as he grabbed Izuku and jumped out of the way. Mrs. Midoriya, move. But it was too late. Mom. Hospital. Don't cry. She will be fine. Dabi comforted the crying boy as they waited in the lobby of the hospital for any news on the condition of Inko. She was hit with full strength of the truck, and when the paramedics arrived, she was barely alive. Izuku was still sobbing, but he nodded. He needs to be strong. Like Dabi or Dad. It took hours until the doctor came out to give them the news. News that broke Izuku's heart. Izuku hugged Dabi, that hugged him back. Izuku was crying on Dabi's chest as the teen tried his best to reassure him. He looked up as he listened to some footsteps. It was their father wearing a broken expression. Let's go. Both of you. The car trip back home was painfully silent. No one talked, and the only sound heard was the rain pouring down and Izuku's silent cries. Once they arrived, Enji sent them both at their rooms. They obeyed without any question, not feeling good with what just happened. Next morning, Izuku woke up when his door was opened with a bang. He looked up to see the angered face of his father as flames danced on his shoulders. Dad, what's going on? Izuku asked sleepy. Enji only went to him and gave him a hard slap on the face. Izuku looked to the direction where he was slapped as Enji glared down at him. You killed Inko. He growled out as Izuku felt tears to his eyes. Enji grabbed him by the arm and dragged him out of his room to the training room. Dabi, that was just waking up, heard the noise and went out to check what was going on. Oi, what are you doing with him? He asked, and Enji didn't stop and tightened his grip on Izuku's arm. Dabi grabbed him by the arm. I asked you a question. He said in a low tone, and Enji glared at him. This is none of your business, boy. Now go back to your room. Enji barked at him and Dabi glared at him. You are hurting my lil bro. It is my business now. Enji threw Izuku to the side, and before anyone could react, Dabi was covered in bright, violent flames. Izuku couldn't mutter a word. He was petrified. He burned Dabi, his cool older brother, his strong older brother. Now he was screaming in pain. Leave my house and don't come back. I am done with you, Toya. Enji barked as he grabbed the still agonizing Dabi and threw him out of his house. Dabi. Izuku muttered, and Enji continued to drag him to the training room, where he had 5 of the most painful minutes of his life. Nighttime. Izuku's room. Izuku was under the covers of his bed with a black eye. He didn't know why Dad was so mad with him and Dabi all of the sudden. Now Mom is gone forever, and Dabi might be too. He heard his door open and he jumped at the noise. He looked to see that it was Shoto. What you want? Izuku asked him, not wanting to deal with him now. I heard what happened with Toya and your mom. Izuku looked down to the covers as tears threatened to leak out. I'm sorry. Shoto got closer and sat on his bed. What did I do wrong? Izuku asked as tears started to fall. Shoto watched him in silence. This wasn't the arrogant, spoiled kid he first met and knew as his bastard brother. This was Izuku Midoriya, a hurt boy, months younger than him, that just like him, he lost his mother and just recently, a brother. Nothing. Father is like that. A bad person. Shoto simply said, and Izuku snorted. I thought you were his favorite, he said with a small shaky smile. Just power-wise. You were his favorite until now. They both shared a small laugh and Izuku looked at him. Friends, bro. Shoto nodded. Friends, brother. Streets. Damn it. Damn it. Damn it. Dabi screamed as he limped with fresh burns all over his body. He was leaning against a wall in an alleyway as he glared to the ground. That bastard. He cursed, thinking about Enji and what would he do to Izuku now. I need to save him. He can't stay there. He muttered, ready to turn back as a voice interrupted him. I don't think you can go anywhere like that, kid. He turned around to see a man looking at him with red eyes. Fuck you. I need to go. He needs me. Dabi gave some shaky steps as he collapsed to his knees due to the pain. The stranger walked next to him. It is clear that you want to help someone. But like this, it would be impossible. Then what should I do? Stay here and lick my wounds while he suffers. Dabi screamed at the man that rolled his eyes in annoyance. No, I can. Take care of them. Then, you can go. Only after I train you. The stranger said, and Dabi raised a brow. Train me? Who the hell are you? People call me Stain. And I want your help to reform this society from fake heroes, Toya Todoroki. Dabi stared wide-eyed at the hero killer before grinning. Please. Call me Dabi. I can't believe you got expelled. Again. Shoto said to his half-brother that rolled his eyes with a smirk. Come on, Shoto. It wasn't my fault this time. Shoto gave him a clawed stare. You broke someone's nose and burned his hair. How it isn't your fault? They were picking on little kids. They had it coming. Izuku defended his case while putting his hands at the back of his head. Shoto sighed as he shook his head. Ever since that day, they had become actual brothers. Sticking for each other, and Shoto even trying to calm his father when he gets mad at Izuku. But failing most of the times. Anyway, Izuku said, I am going to Kachan's place. Ever since the old geezer pulled me out of that school, it's harder to see him. Izuku said, and he grinned at Shoto. Want to come? Katsuki doesn't like me, and neither do I like him. Shoto simply said as Izuku hugged him by the shoulder. You didn't like me neither, and hey, now we are buddies and stuff. You two just need to spend some quality time. Shoto closed his eyes. I'll head home to calm him down. I doubt he will be happy about your newest expulsion, he said, and Izuku chuckled. Nice plan, bro. I'll go into hiding while you calm the beast. Izuku joked as he walked towards the Bakugo home. Shoto sighed. His brother was a troublemaker. Probably just to anger Enji. Ever since Inko's death, Izuku was officially the bastard son. And the wannabe hero made sure to remind him of that. He still slept in the same room but had less things than before, conserving just some books, a desk, a computer that Izuku got from Fuyumi in his bed. Natsuo moved away from the house so that she is the older sibling taking care of them. She is also the one that does the best job in calming Enji rage. This is the 4th school he was kicked out. He will be furious. Shoto thought. Better get home quick. Kachan and Deku's hideout. For fuck's sakes. Is it too hard to stay in one school, Deku? Katsuki asked as him and Izuku were sat on one of the chairs in their hideout in the beach. Not really. Maybe I am too cool for school. Izuku joked with a small smirk, and Katsuki groaned as he rolled his eyes. Your shitty dad is going to go mad when he heard this. Izuku chuckled. It is always fun to see the geezer lose it. So, worth it? He asked, and Katsuki passed his hand across his face. No, not worth it at all. How the fuck you plan about getting into UA if you can't stay in one school? Relax, I am going to enter. My grades are good and my behavior can improve. Besides, I bet that being the son of the almighty number 2 hero helps a lot. Izuku chuckled at the annoyed face of his friend. He knew his dad hates him, but he also knows that he would never risk his reputation for anything. He will be fine. He will receive a lot of screams, maybe not dinner and Fuyumi scolding him lightly. He can deal with that. Todoroki residence. This is the last school I am sending you. Izuku's smirk fell once he heard the angry words of Enji. What? Enji's scowl deepened. You hear me, boy. I won't waste more time and money on a brat that doesn't wish to have an education. Be thankful that I am not sending you to the military school. Izuku nodded. He knew he was being serious and was honestly surprised that he actually listened to Shoto's or Fuyumi's pleas. Now leave. I made the arrangements for your new school. Next week, British School for Excellency. I feel so off here. Izuku muttered as he opened the button of the neck of his shirt and let his tie loose. Shoto, that walked with him for his first day, nodded. I am surprised that he enroll you in an expensive school like this. Maybe he wants some manners drilled into you. I have manners, thank you very much. Izuku said with a smirk, and Shoto shook his head. Izuku continued to watch how the kids with his school uniform looked. So clean, so tidy, so opposite like him. You know, maybe military school isn't that bad of an idea. Izuku said, and Shoto slapped the back of his head. Izuku, please behave here. I don't want to see you fail your dream just because you don't feel comfortable in a new environment. Izuku sighed as he slumped his shoulders. Fiend. But I won't like it. Shoto smiled at his comment before both looked ahead. This is my stop. See y'all later, bro. Good luck on your first day. Izuku walked into the school as he received weird glances from the other students. Some wondering who was the new kid, others why he was using the uniform in such undignified way, and many already fearing or disliking the delinquent that just got in their school. Izuku stopped in front of the school secretary. Hey, I'm new here and don't know where my class is. The old lady adjusted her glasses as she nodded. Mr. Izuku Todoroki, I guess. Izuku nodded. Yes, follow me. She guided him to the class where he will be now. The lady entered the class to inform the teacher about the new student, and after some moments she came out. She told Izuku something about the school clothing code and stuff, and she left. When he was called inside the class, he enters to see a class full of curious eyes looking at him. They were sat with both hands on their desk and without moving. Hey, name's Izuku Todoroki and I guess I am your new classmate. Izuku said, and the teacher coughed at his hand after some minutes of silence. Do you mind telling us about yourself, Mr. Todoroki? Izuku grinned at the man. Nah, I'll pass. Where's my seat? He asked, and the teacher sighed as he then looked at his class. Would anyone wish to guide your new classmate for his first weeks in our school? As expected, no one raised their hand. No one but a girl with long vines as her hair. The teacher smiled. Thank you, Miss Shiozaki. You can take the morning to guide Mr. Todoroki across the school's grounds. Abara nodded with a small smile as she walked in front of Izuku and bowed her head. Pleasure to meet you, Todoroki-san. Please follow me. They excited the class and Abara started to show him the school. As you can see, this is the school yard. Here, we have a collection of different species of birds and multiple flowers. Now, following this, excuse me, but can we skip the tour part and, I don't know, talk? Izuku interrupted her and she looked at him confused. Talk, Todoroki-san, she asked, tilting her head. About? Izuku shrugged. Don't know. I am bored and lonely. I just want to talk about something. Abara nodded. I see, Todoroki-san. What do you wish to? And can you stop with the Todoroki-san stuff? It makes me feel weird. Izuku cut her once again and she blinked. Then how do you wish to be called? Izuku shrugged. Izuku is fine, I guess. He walked towards a bench and sat there. He tapped the spot next to him, and Abara sat there. So, why don't you tell me about yourself? Abara nodded as she smiled. Well, there isn't much to say about me. It is not my intention to bore you. Izuku grinned. Relax, Abara. I might be rude and look unorthodox, but I know how to listen. He joked and Abara giggled as she nodded. Very well. And so, they started to talk. Abara comes from a Catholic family that owns multiple greenhouses, parks and museums. She told him about her love for nature and plants, her faith in God and more. I never had been good with plants. I end up burning them by accident. Izuku said as he placed his hands behind his head and looked to the sky. How? You don't smoke, do you? She asked, worried, and Izuku shook his head. Nah. My quirk. Flame soul in kind of powerful. Sometimes, when I sneeze for example, fire comes from my mouth. Maybe I am not made to take care of plants. Abara smiled at him. If you desire to know about botanic, I can teach you. She offered and Izuku grinned. Really? She nodded as she placed her hands together as in a praying way. Thanks. When do we start? There is a garden at the end of the school. We can go there after lunch. Izuku waved his hand. Or, we can go now. Abara looked horrified. And skip classes. What would the teacher think of that behavior? She asked and Izuku smirked. We can say that you were showing me that part of the school and we lost the time. But that would be lying. Abara said and Izuku nodded. Maybe. But we are not making any harm. Are we? I guess. After some thinking, she made her mind. With a sigh she walked to the direction of the garden. Follow me. Shiozaki residence. Abara was laid on her bed thinking about the new kid, Izuku Todoroki. He was different, in the sense of what she is used to. He is wild, carefree, laid back and kind of rude. But he is also funny and a good company. He listened to her and didn't seem to mind about her being more serene than most people. She closed her eyes. He is a mystery. She broke the rules and lied because of him, but she also had a fun time. She smiled. She doesn't have any real friends. Just good classmates. He will talk to him tomorrow and see what are his real intentions. Next day, lunch break. Abara had followed Izuku to the roof. She isn't sure what is he going to do there, but she will find out. During the day, she watched him slack off at class, but that's it. He didn't annoy anyone, answered the questions correctly, and was behaving well in her eyes. She reached to the roof to see Izuku laid on a bench while eating a sandwich. He opened a lazy eye as he listened something and grinned at the girl. "Hey Abara, what bring you up here?" he asked, and Abara straightened herself and walked until she was in front of him. He sat up as he continued to eat his sandwich. "I was simply wondering what were you doing here?" she explained herself as she sat next to him. Izuku grinned. "Nothing special. I just like to eat on the roof." "I see." They stayed in silence, and after a while she stood up and prepared to leave. "Mind making me some company?" Izuku asked, and she turned around to see him smiling at her. After a while she nodded as she made her way next to him. "Not at all." Abara and Izuku were walking down the street to head back home. Izuku was telling her a story about him and Kachan, and the girl was laughing while covering her mouth. "I can't believe you two did that," she said once she controlled her laughter. Izuku grinned at her. "But it happened. Kachan and I were and still are the bigger troublemakers you will ever meet." Izuku bragged, and Abara shook her head with a small smile on her lips. Izuku looked to the sky as he placed his hands on the back of his head. "So, where are you going to apply to study?" Izuku asked, and Abara turned at him with a smile. "To UA's hero course." "And you, Izuku?" Izuku grinned at her. "To the same place, of course." "Guess we are destined to be together," he joked, and Abara put her hands together in praying way. "I will pray for us to be in the same class. That way we will know someone there," she said, and Izuku nodded. "By the way, Kachan and Shoto are also going there." At that Abara's shoulders slumped a little. "You still don't like them that much, do you?" Abara shook her head. "I don't dislike them. I found Katsuki being mean from time to time while your brother." Izuku sighed. He knew that Abara didn't like Shoto at all. Maybe it wasn't a good idea to tell her his first days in the Todoroki residence. She stayed with that idea. "Come on Abara," he changed. "Now we are super duper friends and bros and stuff," he said with a smile, and Abara smiled at his comment. She enjoyed of his childish antics when he said stuff like that. You just need to know him outside of his cold and hard exterior. "I'll think about it. See you tomorrow," she said as they parted ways, each one to their house. Todoroki residence. Dinners at the Todoroki residence are always filled with tension. No one says a word, and once someone is done eating, he leaves his plate in the kitchen and can go. Izuku and Shoto always sit next to each other, Fuyumi in front of one of them while Enji sat on the end of the table. It was like any other dinner, no one talking, only looking at their food. It changed when Enji cleared his throat. "Shoto, Izuku, I decided where you will go to study once you graduate school," he declared, and Shoto gave him a cold look. "I am going to UA. I don't care what you think." Enji smirked. "I already recommend you there, boy. No matter what, you are going to UA. And for you, Izuku, I am also going there." Izuku interrupted him, and Enji frowned. "You are going to the same university that Fuyumi went. I won't allow you to be in the same building that Shoto." Izuku blinked a little before frowning. "Okay, then I am going to Shikatsu. While it has a hero course, I am good." Enji's frown intensified. "Listen to me and listen well. You are not going to UA, you are not going to Shikatsu, and you are not going somewhere with a hero course. Because I won't allow you becoming a hero." Shoto glared at his father while Izuku's eyes widened in realization. Shoto looked at his brother, waiting for him to fight that back, but he only lowered his head. "I'm not hungry anymore." With that said, he left the table. Shoto stood up to go after him when he saw that Izuku locked himself in his bedroom. He sighed. Maybe Izuku needs some time to cool off. Next day *. "Are you all right, Izuku?" Abara asked her friend that was looking down. He was staring at the window while leaning his head on his hand. Izuku didn't seem to notice her until she tapped his shoulder, making him look at her way. He had bags under his eyes and gave her a weak smile. "Hey Abara, how are you?" "Izuku, are you okay?" she asked, worried, and Izuku nodded. "Yeah, just distracted." Abara nodded slowly and went to sit next to him as always. She expected for him to talk about something and tell her something funny. But no, he was silent and looking at the window. And that was how the whole day went. Once the final bell rang, he stood up and quickly left. Abara followed quickly behind, and once in the street, she grabbed his shoulder to stop him. "Izuku, please, tell me what's wrong," Abara asked, and Izuku looked at her with a weak smile. "Nothing. Just nothing." He was about to leave when Abara grabbed his hand. "Please, I want to help you," Abara begged him, and Izuku looked to the ground. "You can't." Izuku took a deep breath as Abara gave him a confused look. "Yesterday, Dad said that I wasn't allowed to become a hero. He won't allow me to enroll in any academy with a hero course." He let out a dry laugh as Abara looked at him with a worried look. "Maybe I wasn't meant to be a hero. I am a bastard kid, a brat, a troublemaker. Not hero material." Abara's grip on his hand got loose and he walked away. "Sorry Abara. Izuku, please, let me help you." Izuku stopped and looked at her. "I'm sorry." Todoroki residence. Izuku entered the home and threw his bag to the couch. He was going to lock himself in his room when Shoto got in his way. "Are you okay?" Izuku nodded with a weak smile. "Yeah bro. Just need some sleep." He walked past Shoto before he said, "Katsuki called." "So, he said that Abara called him because you were depressed." Shoto looked at his brother at the eye that looked down. "I'm fine, okay. Just drop it. Is it because what he said yesterday?" "What you think?" Izuku snapped after a whole day of sadness. "I always wanted to be a hero. I always dreamed to help people when they can't help themselves. And now I can't." A few tears escaped his eyes. "I am never good enough. I couldn't save Mom. I couldn't save Dobby. How the fuck I am supposed to be a hero that way? He whispered and Shoto hugged him to comfort him. Shoto looked up to the stairs, seeing Enji looking at the scene with a slight smirk. Shoto glared at him. He broke the embrace with Izuku, looked at his father at the eye and said, I am not going to UA. Both Izuku and Enji looked at Shoto, one with shock and the other with anger. What was that boy? Enji said, a scowl taking his face. I didn't stutter. I am not going to UA. Unless, Engio asked. Unless Izuku is going with me, I won't go there. Shoto challenged his father, seeing how flames danced on his shoulders. After a tense minute that felt like an hour, Enji snapped his tongue. Fine. He is allowed to take the entrance exam. After that, he stormed away. Izuku smiled as the shock left. A smile that turned into a grin as he jumped to hug his brother. Thank you, Shoto. Thank you and thank you. I don't know how to repay you. Shoto smiled slightly. Just pass the exam. Then we will be even. Izuku nodded with a grin and searched for his phone in his pocket. He needed to tell Abara and Kachan the good news. They probably got worried over him due to his attitude. Shiozaki residence. Abara just received a message from Izuku. It said that he will go to UA and was apologizing for being a dick. After scolding him for cursing, she decided to continue on her gift to him. It was a necklace conformed by multiple red balls all next to each other. She had planned to give him this for his birthday, but maybe now it would be a good time.